Happy Veterans Day. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Jacob Meyer, and it is my honor to address the faculty and students of Columbia Middle School as we celebrate Veterans Day. Today, we recognize all who have served and continue to serve our nation with honor and distinction. I graduated from Evans High School in 1999, and thanks to the career path that the JROTC program afforded to me, I am proud to make this personal Veterans Day address to our community's future leaders. Today, I would like to take a few minutes to address the commitment our nation owes our veterans and present a personal account of one of the heroic men that we honor today. This year, we commemorate the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, and we also remember the contributions of veterans from the greatest generation. World War II changed a generation of people. 16 million Americans officially served in it, and that doesn't count all the contractors and civilian labor back home who supported it. As you may recall from your studies, World War II was the stage in which the Allies, led by the nations of the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Soviet Union, fought the Axis powers, led by the nations of Germany, Italy, and Japan. After 3 years of fighting, the Italians would eventually sign the Armistice of Cassabile in September of 1943. The Germans would sign an Instrument of Surrender in May of 1945. I will speak more on that event later. Finally, the Japanese would sign an unconditional surrender in August of 1945 aboard the battleship USS Missouri, with the formal agreement signed in early September. This agreement would mark the official end of hostilities and the beginning of major changes back home. One of these changes was focused on how to employ the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who were now released from the armed services and eager to begin their lives, careers, and families after such a long time away. Although economists at the time predicted high employment in the midterm, they expected a temporary surge in unemployment until industry could pivot from wartime production to producing peacetime goods. Indeed, those new veterans returning from both the European and Pacific theaters would need jobs and houses and communities to support them. In preparation for this surge, the GI Bill had been signed a year before. So instead of receiving unemployment, veterans could opt for a college education. By 1947, veterans accounted for almost half of college admissions, and by the time the original GI Bill ended in 1956, 7.8 million World War II veterans had participated in an education or training program. Our nation owes a great debt to our veterans. In addition to the aforementioned education assistance, many veterans can apply for business or home loans, career counseling, life insurance, and medical assistance. These are some of the resources that veterans and their family members are eligible to receive. Right now, all around the country, our veterans serve as teachers, doctors, engineers, social workers, community leaders, first responders, and elected officials. Veterans continue to serve our communities by making positive contributions, building stronger futures, and inspiring future generations. Now, please allow me a few minutes to indulge in the story of one such veteran from the greatest generation. Luciano Charles Graziano was born on 6 February 1923. His parents, Pietro and Filippa, were Italian immigrants living in East Aurora, New York. Nicknamed Louis by his friends and family, Luciano was drafted into the U.S. Army on the 22nd of January 1943. He was to serve in the European theater during World War II, leaving active duty service after 3 years and attaining the rank of Master Sergeant. In his own words, Louis was honored to pick up a gun, put on a helmet, and defend our country with his life. Upon joining the Army, Luis Graziano attended training in Texas, New York, and New Jersey before being shipped overseas to England and more training. He participated in Operation Overlord, which included the most massive amphibious operation ever conducted, landing over 156 1,000 forces onto beaches in northern France with the intent to puncture a hole in Adolf Hitler's defenses, known as the Atlantic Wall. This assault took place over 5 beaches codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. On the day of the assault, the 6th of June, 1944, D-Day, Luis Graziano hit Omaha Beach in the third wave of troops that invaded Normandy, France. The German defensive positions were formidable. That day, over 2,000 Americans wouldn't leave Omaha Beach alive. Luis Graziano's mission on D-Day was to drive a fuel truck onto the beach to resupply vehicles that would be needed to press the offensive. This was a dangerous task for 2 reasons. One, by this time in the battle, the enemy were committing fresh reserve forces to their defensive lines. And 2, a large truck filled with gasoline provided an attractive target. After disembarking his fuel truck onto the beach, Luis Graziano crawled under enemy fire to a nearby German bunker. Directing flamethrower and small arms fire against the bunker, he neutralized it. Then he called for naval gunfire from offshore ships in the vicinity in order to provide the covering fire to support their advance off of the beach. Luis Graziano's actions on D-Day undoubtedly contributed to the overall successful completion of the mission. The fighting in France would continue as German forces would conduct deliberate withdrawals eastward toward Germany, falling into new defensive positions and blowing up bridges in the path of the advancing Allies. The effect of this was that it slowed the Allied campaign. By the bitter winter of December 1944, Hitler assessed that he had amassed enough combat power to launch a counterattack through Belgium all the way to the English Channel, thereby bifurcating the Allied advance on the Western Front. This would be known as the Battle of the Ardennes, or alternatively, the Battle of the Bulge. Now, this battle deserves a far more detailed look than what I am providing, and so I encourage you to study it for yourself. The Bulge referred to is the 60-mile wide hole in the Allied lines that the Germans created and attacked through in Belgium and Luxembourg, and it would be the Germans' final major offensive action. Luis Graziano would selflessly participate in the action to free the beleaguered forces defending the Belgian town of Bastogne. He suffered severe frostbite to his feet, the consequences of which he still lives with today. However, before amputation to his feet became necessary, Luis Graziano would be medically evacuated to the town of Reims, France. This is the setting of the final point about him that I wish to make today. Now, he had always displayed an intense desire to complete the mission, and once he was discharged from the hospital, Master Sergeant Graziano would be assigned the necessary detail of repairing the bombed-out buildings of Reims. One of the buildings under his administration was known as the Little Red Schoolhouse. This building was the headquarters of the Supreme Commander, Allied Expeditionary Force, General Dwight Eisenhower, whom Lewis knew personally. And it was in this building, in May 1945, Luis Graziano and 60 other people witnessed the signing of the German Instrument of Surrender. He is the last known surviving witness to this event. I tell you all this because today, at the age of 97, Luis Graziano lives and works with his family in Thomson, Georgia, just right down the road from where you are sitting now. His estate has given me permission to share his address with you students, and is encouraging anyone that wishes so may write to him. The address is in the description. Please consider taking some time today to give your thanks to an American patriot. A thoughtful letter goes a long way for our nation's veterans. Each year, we set the 11th of November aside all across the country to celebrate and pay tribute to our veterans. Veterans like Master Sergeant Luis Graziano, for their devotion and patriotism, selfless service, and sacrifice on behalf of all of us. I want to extend my gratitude to the faculty and staff that have granted me this opportunity to address you today. I encourage you to study World War II and its implications on our world today. Have a safe and reverent Veterans Day.